Howard, you're a farmer. You've seen the change to GMO crops firsthand. What are some of the things that sent up red flags to you, during your career?
Well, in 1989, we started using alternative farming methods on our farm. And because of that, I think we developed an objective and a viewpoint that was different than most may have had. And I started in the crop nutrition advisory work in 1992 and farm supply business. And in 1994, started studying GMOs. And some of the promises that were being made sounded too good to be true. So we looked at it objectively rather than euphorically. And there were a number of things that showed up right away. We did the first side-by-side comparison in 1997. Seed company provided the seed for that side-by-side comparison. And when we put all the numbers together of what it would have cost if we'd have purchased it, the BT GMO corn lost us money. So we repeated that in 1998, and same result, we lost money. We were comparing a good sound hybrid to the BT version, and probably the thing that maybe got the most attention after we grew that crop, when you lose $58 an acre and you're already barely breaking even for the way the grain prices were at that time, that gets your attention. Yeah. But when the livestock showed us that they didn't care to consume the GMO grain, that really got our attention. And because of the tremendous opportunity of working with family farmers and crop and livestock operations all over the Midwest, we started seeing a consistent trend in a lot of ways where they were able to segregate and have the non-GMO and the GMO version of the grain, and the consistency of the ill effects to the livestock. The pattern was being developed. It wasn't every single time, but it was a high frequency. And we accumulated that information and data over a 10+ year period of time, and it was continuing to get worse and worse. And then I was challenged, in essence, by one of the PhD scientist friends that I had, and she says, well, what you've done is fine and good, but it's all anecdotal. So take it to the next step and put forth the protocol and do a scientific study to see if you can prove it. And thankfully, we connected with Dr. Carmen and we did the pig study. And two of the problems that we were consistently seeing in livestock prior to doing the study was issues with conception and fertility, as well as digestive issues. And both of those things, both of those body parts came up as warning flags in the results of our study. The increased weight, the abnormal, oversized weight of the utera of the non-GM fed pigs was one of the statistical findings of the study. The other one was the increased frequency of the severe erosions in the stomach, or the inflammation. And that was something that we had seen on an ongoing basis as we put the genetically engineered corn and or soy in the diet of the animals. The ileitis, the salmonella, the bloody bowel, we put it in, the problem showed up, you take it away, the problem went away, and that stayed pretty consistent. So those were the two statistical scientific findings, but the all was set, and once you get started, you don't change it. But and Dr. Pustai was actually the one that made this protocol statement, if you will, that we had to weigh these pigs every week. And I wasn't planning on that because that was a lot of work. And he said, no, you have to do it this way. So we did. And it was the best thing that he could have told me, because in doing that, we saw the behavior change in those pigs. And they went through it every week. And the ones that were in this pen and this pen, the people that were weighing them, they didn't know who was fed what. They just run them through the maze. The pigs couldn't perform that simple task, and they'd start fighting and biting and picking on one another. Well, we started seeing problems in 1997 in livestock. The study was published in 2013. And it's frustrating how much time it takes between completion of a study and publication, especially one of this magnitude. I know of studies that were completed, and I knew the results, and you had to keep quiet about it for how many years in addition to ours. And it's a very frustrating process. But my question is, okay, that's a 15-year time period from the time we start to see problems to the time we had the first solid scientific evidence to support what we were seeing. On our farm, we don't have 15 years to wait. And common sense would tell us that we maybe don't want to wait that long either. But I always ask the people when I do the public presentations, let's look at the behavior of, first of all, the children, the young adults, and the older adults in our environment today, with 75 to 80% of the processed food containing ingredients from GMOs. And let's look at the use of behavioral drugs and prescription medication in 1996, before we had 75 to 80% of the processed food containing ingredients from GMO, and let's look at it today. And then let's ask a question. Is there something wrong? And I think based on the response and the feedback that I received from countless mothers and medical doctors from across the country that I'm fortunate to correspond and interact with as we do the education presentations in different areas. They take GMOs out of the diet of their children and or family members, and 100% of the time there's an improvement in health. Now, they maybe don't necessarily go from being lame to walking overnight, but there's always an improvement. Right. And you know, that's common sense in my book, but that don't register the way it seems in some of the regulatory community.